Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. Chris and I are back as we battle the T-Virus in Resident Evil Apocalypse. Alice wakes up in Raccoon City Hospital after the area has been overrun by zombies and must now make it out of the city before a nuclear bomb is dropped. The movie was made on a budget of 45 million and brought in 129.3 million at the box office.
That's a huge return. Yeah.
That is... Movies wish they could make money today. Like, just wish they could make money. Never mind that sort of money.
So I did a little research. I looked up. It said the trailer for this film was one of the most watched on the internet up until that point. 8.5 million downloads from November 2003 to May 2004. Maybe that may not be that huge nowadays, but like 20 years ago, that was a huge number.
Streaming wasn't a thing, and the download stuff was an effort.
Yeah. That was huge. Yeah. And I mean, my initial impression of this one is that it improved upon the things that I didn't like about the first one, and then it kept the things in that I did like about it. So I thought this was a better one than the first one.
Yeah, it's just a straight up sequel, and it's closer to the game. It's closer to Resident Evil 2, the game.
Yes.
So sure. you actually feel like you're in the game when you're watching this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely wanted to pick up a controller after this for sure. I'm telling you, this is there were three things that kept me from liking it more as we get into it. I'll see if you picked up on the same three things. But outside of that, I thought it was successful.
LJ?
Yes, that was one of them. Yeah.
What a caricature, just an annoying character. Like, what was the purpose of him?
Just a horrible trope of like the black guy who's like not afraid of horror.
Gangster.
And he has to make, jokes that make no sense. And the fact that he's not afraid when everything around him is going to hell, and the stupid lines. It was awful.
And so good characters that could have had a good proper team fighting right to the end. They got rid of the good characters and kept him.
Yeah. Apparently, Snoop Dogg was actually hired to play that role and then backed out at the last.
Oh Jesus! Second. I would have been awful. I hate him. Why is he a thing?
I don't know.
Why is he a thing?
I don't know.
If you look at his background, he is a middle class, like uppity, fucking privileged. Like went to all the nice schools and stuff, trying to be a hood rat, character.
Yeah,
he's like, we have a character over here called Ali G. From back in the day.
I know Ali G, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, Sacha Baron Cohen's like as middle class as you get, upper, nose up in the air type.
Yeah.
They're playing a parody of what they think the hood is, the street, and it's insulting. Like, characters like that are just, it's middle class people poking at working class people.
Yeah. I imagine when he's not around a camera or something like that, he just like sits down and he watches like, I don't know, some sort of like upper middle class, like British, TV show Snoop Dogg. And he's just like, he talks with an accent. And then someone comes in the room and he's like, hey, and he has to change his whole attitude.
Yeah, it is a character he plays, but
yeah,
that would have took me right out of this movie.
Yeah, that would have been worse. But to give you an example of a character that was kind of a direct comparison to the first movie, but an improvement, was the character of Carlos. So he was very similar to the character in the first movie who was like the technician, the computer type.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were very similar characters, yet I totally enjoyed Carlos's performance more. He was played by Oded Fair. I may be mispronouncing that. But that was the guy that survived all the way to the end, which I didn't expect him to. And I just thought I found him enjoyable. It looked like he knew what he was doing.
I liked all the guys, even the Polish guy, who was only briefly in it. The Stars team were doing what they're meant to do.
Yeah. They acted believably. They felt like normal human beings, where the first movie...
And they got shafted, and then they're trying to deal with the fact that they got shafted.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I thought that was like a direct comparison why I like this second one a little bit more, was Carlos compared to the technician from the first one. Yeah, the computer tech.
Yep. And Frigg is the other thing. I think when you say things, you mean people, characters.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
that was a choice.
That was a choice. That's the best way to put it.
When a Wesker appears, they're saving him.
Yeah,
It just gets so much fun ahead of us with this series. But that's another thing as well. I still feel like they're trying to entertain me, hence why I'm not annoyed by it. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like there's iterations of this series get absolutely panned and it's made a joke, but at the same time, I get the feeling they're doing what they're busy want to entertain the audience, and they're playing to the Resident Evil fan base.
And they're putting a lot of effort into the production value, practical effects, good scenery. There were 47 different locations used in this movie. Like, this is not a franchise that is just like phoning it in, or after the success of the first one, just rushing to get any production out that they could.
The story's
like,
a follow one. It actually follows on from the first one,
yeah,
like scene to scene almost, and it feels seamless,
yeah.
as if it's the same story.
And everyone's putting in an effort, and I think it starts at the top with the main character. Obviously, Mila
Jovovich.
Thank you.
Alice.
And I'm sorry, Alice. Yeah, I feel like if the main actress, the main protagonist, is spending months in training, I think she spent 3 months in training for this one, and she's really giving a great performance. I feel like it just steps up everyone else's performance too. And I thought she was great in this, and I really felt that the characters were more believable.
Well, isn't that the whole thing? Like that's we were talking about work and stuff before we started, but isn't that
Yeah,
the thing? When the whole thing starts from top down. If you feel like somebody's putting in the effort and they're not just sitting behind a desk, or they're not just dialing it in or lording it over, you kind of pick up on that vibe, and then it sort of filters down.
right.
No, when you feel that people are just genuinely just trying to get on with the day, that filters down. So I'm pretty sure the same in a set. If somebody's actually trying to give a performance or trying to actually be in line with the vibe of the movie, that filters down the rest of the cast, and they take inspiration from it.
100%.
So then everyone like tries to step up their game of it. If they see somebody putting that wee bit of effort in, I think the problem is it's the whole diva mentality. You know, if somebody swans in late, you know, the shoot's meant to start and they swan in 5 minutes late, or less and they're half stowed off their head and whatever they've taken, and they're not arsed, and that all just it turns into an absolute shit show.
Right.
But I get the impression this is a movie just it wants me to have fun for 90 odd minutes.
100%. Yeah. And it absolutely captures that sense of the video games, which is that's all you want as a fan of the video games going in. Although I do feel that, like, because I only played one of the video games, and so I don't know some of like the nuances. I remember you were getting excited by Nemesis because that was directly from the game. I didn't remember any of that.
That's Resident Evil 3.
Okay, but I just feel like you don't need that. Like it stands on its own as just a fun movie, you know. And again, there was a few things that held it back from being a great movie, but it's still enjoyable despite those flaws.
Yeah, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still a Hollywood production. It's still like a mainstream movie. It's edgy, yes, but it's still meant for more the masses than a niche audience. That's what they're trying to do, trying to market it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't know, Resident Evil is like the biggest game. I think, bar none. I think even outside the horror genre, it's like, I know it's the biggest horror survival game, followed closely by Silent Hill, but it's actually up there like the biggest game.
I remember we researched last time, and it was definitely the biggest horror video game. I didn't research if it's the biggest video game, but
it's up there.
It has to be up there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the fact the movie, like a sequel, can still make its money.
Yeah. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like Call of Duty, Halo, There's probably some other ones, one of the the Mario Kart, something like that. But it's got to be up there.
It's well up there. It's that's the thing.
huge.
It's a testament to the franchise and like the storytelling and the characters and the fan base.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a typical corporation though. That it's big, it's bad, it's evil, but it can't tie its own shoelaces because of it hires corporate drones. So they send a full tactical team in the first movie.
Yeah.
When they didn't know there was a problem.
Right.
When they're pulling out survivors, and they know there is a definite problem. Yeah, let's send half a dozen people down with hazmat suits. That'll be fine. What could go wrong?
Yeah, in the first one. Yeah.
No, but I mean, we'll see the follow-on in the opening scenes here. Basically carries on from Alice and Matt getting nabbed, and then they go, we're reopening the hive. Not one machine gun, not one soldier amongst them, just a bunch of blokes and women and hazmat suits.
Right.
It'll
What
be
could
fine.
go wrong?
It'll be fine, sure.
I think we could see throughout the movie there was just an utter lack of like I get that they're an evil
but
corporation.
I can picture a corporation doing that. I can picture a corporation being that stupid.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you look at all the big ones now and the decisions they make, and they piss money down the drain over stupidity. Yet they're supposed to have the brightest out the box thinkers, but everyone has to think inside the box, and your middle management sort of are empty heads. They just say the right words.
Yeah.
I could absolutely 100% see this mistake being made.
Yeah. And they clearly have no regard for human lives, as we find out
without a
throughout
doubt.
the movie. I mean, if you think about it from a corporate point of view, this is a great way to save on bonuses, on health insurance.
Without getting into, you can see too many parallels between the corporations of today. That's the scary thing.
This is a great way, cost-cutting.
Absolutely no regards for human. Like, you see corporations today of the same sort of mentality. There's sociopaths at the top.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the whole scene where they're going to pick up the important people. Right. That whole drama, but does nobody ring ahead?
Yeah, I noticed that too when I was thinking about it. My only thing to try to rationalize it was that maybe they were afraid if they rang ahead that the people might panic and run away because they don't trust Umbrella. So if Umbrella's coming to pick them up and they get a call from Umbrella, hey, we're on our way, stay there, we're going to get you.
But these people are like top tier involved, and there's an incident, we're coming here to save your life.
Yeah.
They're in the know. This is the bit of the story. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Ow. And not just my finger. Shit. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what the hell that was.
Rinse it out with some water.
Yeah, I've tea here. Just that's good for a stream. So they're in on it. They're obviously being shepherded to safety. I don't understand why a phone call ahead, like they don't have somebody in the operations desk going, right, ring, ring, yes, team's coming to pick you up now, be ready. Like, what happens if they're in the bath or something?
We saw that. I think one of the ladies was like brushing her teeth, and I
think that plot line with God, what do you call him? Computer guy, Ashford,
yeah.
Yes. Well, could have been done a bit neater.
Yeah.
I think it could have been done a bit better. And this is where the franchise as a whole starts to derail a bit, because it starts getting a bit too mustache twirling, going, "Wah, we're evil for the sake of being evil." Where, as you know, the most frightening thing is somebody who's rationally evil.
Right, exactly.
They have a purpose to what they're doing. They fully believe in what they're doing. They're not just the Dick Dastardly type, I'm the villain, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's not as frightening. That's comical.
You hit on it. Same thing for me. That was my second of my three complaints with the movie, was that the evil was just over the top, and it didn't even make sense. Even if you don't care about like people's lives and stuff like that, they care about money. I mean, in fact, the bigger a company gets, the actual more fiscal responsibility they have. There's more shareholders, there's more people involved. Like they don't want to waste human resources just to waste them. So when the corporation, like when he not to skip ahead too far, but you mentioned Ashford, when he kills Ashford at the end to prove a point or whatever, he had those other hostages he could have killed to get the same results.
But it made no
And
sense either.
it made no sense at all. And then just the way they handled the Stars people, where they had Nemesis take them out, like it's just wasteful. Like forget like the evil, morality of it. It just didn't make sense from a company perspective to waste resources. And it took me out of the fiction.
Yeah, it gets worse.
Oh boy.
Like
okay.
we go proper when we meet Albert Wesker, just gets like bonkers, ridiculous stuff. But at that point, you've left reality.
Yeah.
It really does go into it's almost like a fantasy movie, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't want to obviously spoil, but you can kind of see the direction. Like this isn't being contained. So you can kind of see the direction it's going, and that's where we'll go with this. And yeah, it's fun in its own way, but at this point, it's still sort of grounded in reality. You can see this happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's detracting a bit too much. It's almost like they could have held back on this for 2 movies, and then it goes ridiculous, if that makes sense. But they're starting to throw it in already, and you can tell this is being made by committee.
Yeah.
They're wanting this, they're wanting that, they're wanting to introduce something else. You can just tell they're all around the table. Oh, we've got a game coming out. We want this involved.
Yeah, and this was a brand new director. The director of the first movie, Paul Anderson.
Anderson wrote this though.
He did write it, but he had to bow out because he was getting ready to prep for Alien vs. Predator, which is the 2004 film that he was working on. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. I know that's a sore topic.
Oh god.
But so this was the directorial debut of Alexander Witt. And he had worked as a cameraman on films like Bourne Identity, Pirates of the Caribbean, but he had never actually directed before. So I think someone who's a brand new director, I think they're more susceptible to
the pressure, yes.
The pressure of the corporate, of the company.
I see it in indie circles. Like even independent filmmakers, I see some of the drama that goes on. Like they'll have a director of photography or whatever the ADD or something, the assistant photography director or something. They will be chipping in if they think they can bully them, because they're all only interested in their shots.
Right.
You'll have a sound guy chipping in because they only want their sound. So if a director's less experienced, I saw it with Alien 3. Then you brought up the Alien franchise. That guy was a music video director. And they were on his back the whole time during that movie. The point where they were still using landlines, that they had to have secret rings between him and the writer. That's the only reason they would pick up. So the studio couldn't get a hold of them. So they couldn't they were doing rewrites on the fly because they could, here's somebody we can bully. It's mad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame too, because you trust the person to hire them as a director. Like let them,
I've
see out
been
their
hired
vision.
in jobs, the same thing.
Yeah.
Hired as a professional. I'm in to do a specific, here's what I'm in to do. And I get fought with the whole time. It's like, why'd you hire me?
Right. 100%.
Hold on.
Yeah.
We went through, I'm talking 2-stage, 3-stage interviews, including presentations to get a particular contract. And then I'm being fought with. It's like, you hired me as a professional above X number of other candidates to do this role. I have demonstrated through previous work I can do this in my sleep. Listen to me. But you haven't worked here for 20 years. What the fuck does that matter?
Right.
If you're hiring someone, hire them and let them do the job. If they screw up, well, guess what? They're done. If they screw up that badly, they're done. If they succeed, then you've made the right decision. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But
We
that's the
see it
world. That is
over and
all over, not just entertainment. That is the world. That is society.
yeah. It's not just films. It's true.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, we meet then Angie Ashford.
Yeah. I like that. That was a nice tie-in to the first movie because again, I'm not very familiar with the lore from the video games. So as someone who's just enjoying the movies at this point, for them to connect it to the girl that the Red Queen was based on in the first
Hmm.
one, I thought that was cool. And I also like that storyline about the fact that the father had developed the T virus to help regenerate her legs so that she could walk.
Which was
Like,
mentioned in the first one.
yeah, but I love that through line that
Hmm.
they really showed it, here. And there was also a deleted subplot where there was going to be reference to the T virus being used as a facial cream that they just did away for pacing.
Hmm.
But it was basically it was going to be a very commercial product, and the idea being that this was already being, used beyond just Raccoon City.
Hmm.
So I don't know if they're going to get into that in the later movies and stuff like that. But to me, this is actually extremely believable. Like people do like Botox and do like they put poisons in their body if it's going to help them, look younger. And
Recent movie there, The Substance, touches that brilliantly.
okay,
Demi
yeah,
Moore.
yeah, you mentioned it. I
Yeah,
haven't seen it yet.
you have to
Yeah,
watch that
that's a
movie.
good one.
That just hits in all of that.
Yeah. So I love this because to me, this is extreme. I know it's a video game and everything, but this is an extremely believable storyline. People would go to extremes like this to use
Look
dangerous
what they're taking
substances.
now to stay thin. They're taking some weird thing they're injecting into themselves.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then at apparently 10 years' time, like people are like their arses falling out of them. It has
Yeah.
has a side effect and people will do it.
Hey, as a kid, and even as up until an older kid than I'd like to admit, I used to find red spiders and I used to let them bite me, hoping I would get superpowers. So I stopped a week ago. It turns out it doesn't happen.
No, I
But the
didn't.
point is that people do crazy things to try to you know enhance
Massive money
their
in it.
yeah. So I thought this is a really believable storyline, and
But you know the
that
video
really helped.
game industry is worth 10 times more than Hollywood.
I have heard that. Yeah,
And Resident
probably for me.
Evil, the original Resident Evil was one of the turning points in that because it started story-based games. They hired actors for the cutscenes.
Yeah,
That was one of the first times, if not the first time, doing that. And it became more than just side scrolling and get to the end of the level, beat the end of level baddie. Game changed. And we started to see more of a storyline put in the games than movies because they realized that people will spend 8 plus hours. Obviously, get further along than I do. I'll spend 8 plus hours in games, but I'll like not get very far. If an actual gamer spends 8 plus hours, they'll complete the game.
well, it's not your fault that video games put in stairs and doors. I mean, those things are hard to get
Yeah,
around.
that's I can take out any enemy, but yeah, give me a flipping jump up a ladder. I'm like screwed. Oh dear. Also, I broke this finger, like mangled it playing rugby years ago, and one of my keys is always that one, and it never works properly.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
Like never.
Oh, I see it a little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. I wonder if you could reconfigure the keyboard so that that's not like an important key. Like that's not
um,
like the jump key or the use your
yeah.
knife.
I had to configure with Osmos. I had to configure the keyboard because uh the the block and the buttons are like that, and that's the way you're trying to operate them. And I'm like,
Right.
no, so I need a bit of space, so I configured those. But that's all part of the fun. But yeah, that's the thing. This is off the back of they're putting a lot of work into the games. Gaming changed, you know, exponentially, and it's a massive, it's scarily massive industry.
Yeah. Because you think
And
about it, like with a movie, people go to see the movie, and then that's pretty much it. With a video game, there's you can get extended what do you call it? Additional content.
The DLCs and
DLCs. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah, DLCs. And then also once you have like the base, game, like the programming set, like making sequels is very easy because all the structure is already there. So maybe you up the graphics a little bit, and obviously you have to design the new areas, but like the costs go down for sequels, whereas movie sequels, the costs go up because the actors want more money than the previous movie. Everything, budgets go up because you have to make it bigger and better than the previous one. So video games, the costs go down on sequels, and movies, the costs go up. So I think there's a lot of reasons why video games are more profitable.
No, and then we get the introduction of Jill Valentine. Like, that was pure fanboy service.
I'm not complaining. That was great. She was a great casting too. I read that they were going to originally go with Natalie Hendrich from the Species. You ever see the Species?
Oh, Species. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have her name wrong, but that was originally who they were gonna cast. But
no, this actress, she embodies Jill Valentine. Like, you just see the character.
Absolutely, yeah. See, her name is Sienna Guerri. Again, I'm butchering all these names today, but when she was hired,
to Ewan McGregor.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. But she bought a PlayStation console when she was hired. She got a copy of the game and she studied the character, and you could really see like some of her movements. There was one point I wrote down about 59 minutes into the movie where the way she's holding herself is just like in the video games where, like, I don't know if you remember in the video game where, like, when your health is low, it says caution and stuff like that. And then they, like, the way she was
many times if you watch my playthrough.
So she was like hunched over, just like in the video game. It was like a subtle little nod to the video game.
But people appreciate they call that fan service now as if it's a bad thing. And it's like it takes nothing away from the movie, but those that are deeper involved or get it and they go, thank you for, acknowledging me, giving me that little tidbit. It's like they have her walking in. I don't know about you, but if I was fired in disgrace or suspended, I wouldn't have it all over my wall like a trophy.
Maybe she was using it as like motivation, like when Mr. T hung out pictures of Rocky Balboa. You're right.
Which is on the police scanner because, the plot needed to happen, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's what you do in your time off. That's like being off and checking your work emails.
Right.
I suppose they're trying to say like being a STARS officer is a vocation as opposed to just a job. They're always dialed in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good analogy. Yeah.
But yeah, they have her, and then we'll go to the chaotic scene in the police station, and she just walks in and starts putting bullets in heads, like no messing about. You're like, you'll do, mate.
That was awesome. I wasn't sure that we were going to have room for both Alice and her because I felt like Alice was supposed to be, a similar character to her, but they didn't want to interfere with the storyline in the first movie. So that's why
I think there were complaints. I think people were going, "Where's Jill Valentine? This is Resident Evil. Where's Jill Valentine?"
Yeah. So I was concerned that they were going to like butt heads. There was going to be too much, but I actually thought it worked well. I thought they were different enough characters that they weren't on top of each other. And I think Alice is so good that she separates herself.
Yeah, and also they explain why she separates herself. She's a completely different entity.
Right.
This is pre-Girl Boss era. So this is pre-insufferable Girl Boss. You know, when we, I don't remember anybody when these movies come out, oh, girl in charge, oh, it's a girl's lead character. I don't think anybody did that.
Yeah.
I think everyone went, yay! No, once we realized Jill Valentine's like, yay! That was it.
Yeah. I think that
this nonsense of today is just look back in time, folks.
Yeah. I think the difference today is that it's relentless, and I think you see it in every movie. So when you're always seeing the female character, but I think the
But not
biggest
well
difference,
written. If they were well written,
and
like these aren't girl bosses. They're vulnerable. You see their
that
vulnerabilities.
you just hit it. The girl bosses of today, they have no vulnerabilities, and they're all superheroes, and it's just not a believable character. Like if you're going to be a strong female character,
Or
one there
strong
has
character, just strong character. The hero's journey is gender
exactly
neutral. The hero's journey is the quintessential storytelling device.
right, right,
They missed
exactly.
the memo on that because they're too
Yeah,
busy trying to prove a point.
and there also has to be a reason why a female character is able to physically outfight a lot of the male characters. This movie, it's perfect because clearly Alice is some sort of creation, and is infected with the T virus. So it makes perfect sense. But like when you see like
But
a male,
Jill
good,
Valentine doesn't do the same action shots that Alice
exactly,
does.
exactly,
Jill Valentine is the human character, and you never see her going toe to toe with somebody 6 foot, 3 times her size. I
right,
couldn't go toe to toe with somebody 6 foot, 3 times her size and know if they land a punch, I'm getting pasted.
right,
So I'm not going to be like trying to lift them up and spin them around. I'm going to try and be clever about it. I'm going
yeah,
to fight them from a distance. You know what I mean? That's common sense.
right,
The problem with today is common sense has went out the window. So you can't suspend disbelief because you're just like going, like, who's that? What was that movie they made? And you see that awful wooden plank, Kristen Stewart doing a spinny, flippy thing.
oh, which one?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. No, which is like taking out these blokes who are like 6 foot up and across.
Yeah,
Know the whole accommodating stuntman joke.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And you're like, nah, wouldn't happen.
right. Yeah, a movie like if you're watching a movie and you see someone like The Rock on screen, you don't have to necessarily go into the backstory of why he's able to outfight some of these other people. He physically looks like he,
Yeah.
he should be able to. If you're going to have a character like Kristen Stewart, you have to explain in the movie why she's had training, why she's physically able to do the things she's doing. So in this movie, they don't need to do that with Jill because they don't have her doing those fighting scenes, and they do explain it with Alice. So
Mhm.
everything computes and you're just able to enjoy it without thinking like this is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
they did a good job with that. Yeah.
And not once did I feel like Joel's character was diminished in any way.
Right.
She had a toughness about her. She also had a vulnerability because she had loyalty to her teammates. Having to take out
Absolutely.
one of her, even though she knew he had turned, having to take out one of her co-worker or partner,
Yeah.
you see the hesitation and everything else. Well, if you're not a complete sociopath and you actually have friends, you would find that a bit of a struggle.
Yeah. What would you do in that moment if we're in the situation and let's say me or some of the other people in the group, Cam and
I'd pause for a
Steve and
minute.
Dell.
I'd feel bad afterwards, but you know what I mean.
But would
That's
you would you do it early enough so that there's no chance of us turning and
no. I
like
think it would be a case of you'd still have that hope in the back of your head, wouldn't you, that it can work out. You need
that's
to
what
physically, yeah, you need to physically see it happen in front of you.
I was just gonna say that. That's how I would do it because it's as it turns out with Carlos, there actually was a
There
chance
was a
to do it.
cure,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Ashford had she's been taking the cure to hold back the T virus from the other effects.
yeah,
So if she had took him out like straight away, it wouldn't have happened. It was too
yeah.
late for I can't remember his name, but it was too late for him.
Oh, the
Her partner that
European.
she had to shoot.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh no, he was Polish guy. He was
Oh,
minced.
the post.
He had no
Oh,
chance.
oh, okay. Which guy are you referring to?
Um, in the city scene, the other black fella, the one that
Oh,
her
okay.
partner. Remember in the
Right.
cinema after the cemetery,
Yes, yes, yes.
she had to
Yeah.
shoot him.
Right.
She was in the car. She had to shoot him,
Hmm.
and you could actually see the the conflict.
Yeah, the anguish on her face.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's still my friend there. I don't want to do this.
yeah.
And we all felt it for a minute. It was like, oh yeah, that's
Now that I think about it, I don't even know if I would be able to do it at that point if it's someone that I really cared about. I might have to go the Shaun of the Dead route and just like attach him to a chair and throw him some pizza once in a while.
oh, like I will get that, but so basically, we're seeing this city going to absolute rat shit,
Yeah,
and it shows how quickly this stuff. It's all the tropes anyway. Once this stuff gets out, I don't get
yeah,
the checkpoint thing.
on the
They have a
bridge.
bridge. Why isn't the checkpoint on the other side of the bridge?
I thought the same thing when I was watching it.
And have this bridge wired up, and then give people a fallback. You don't
Right,
have people cramming right up at the gate.
right. Yeah. And then you have the bridge, ready to blow in case things, in case the,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Badoom.
yeah,
End of story. It's not like they don't have the resources.
yeah. What do they call those areas on like a spaceship, like the airlock?
The airlock, yes.
They needed to use the bridge as an airlock in between the city and the other side of the bridge.
Well, you look at bases, you go into the gate, you have the bollards put up so that you don't drive straight anyway. You have to do zigzags so that if somebody's up to anything nefarious, you can deal with it. And
Right.
the checkpoint is always at the other side. It's the loneliest place. If you're on that checkpoint at the outside, you know what I mean? You're the one getting the brunt of it.
Right.
That's your because you do a rotation when you're in guard. So you do like 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours off. Then you're back on 2 hours. It kind of works that way. So that
Okay.
you're changing and you're fresh as well. But yeah, that's the loneliest point, is being that person at the very, very front,
Gotcha.
because you're the one getting it in the neck if things go wrong.
Right. Jeez.
But
Yeah.
still, just using the bridge like that, and actually that would have been better narratively, like even action scenes, because you could have had the surge of the people breaking through, the guys racing back, and then firing over the top. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have lost any attention.
Yeah, I don't think it changes anything on the production, costs or anything like that, and it's just better storytelling. If just to have this mob, rushing on the bridge would have been really cool, and the soldiers running, open up for us, open up for us.
As the thing's closing, they're trying to,
Yeah,
rather than it all being crushed the way it was.
yeah. Instead, it was the reverse, where they're like ready to shoot the soldiers, and the soldiers are running back with
Yeah.
the people. Yeah, I didn't like that part, the way it was shot.
This is where I think they're trying too hard to show Umbrella as the evil corporation. They're really going the mustache twirling, cape wearing route.
Right.
And this is where the franchise lets itself down, because in other aspects, there's a gritty reality to this.
Yes.
You have to ground the reality before you accept the fantastical. I always say that. So you have to have the stuff make sense at ground level. Then when you have Nemesis walking around, you're ready for it. But if you unhinge reality from the stop, you kind of go, huh?
Right. And I also think it's harder to believe that there are an entire group of people that are that level of evil. It's almost a little bit easier to believe if it was just the one guy, Major Kane.
Mm-hmm.
But when he gives the order for the soldiers to shoot on their fellow soldiers, they were okay with it. And then there's also that scene where Nemesis is about to shoot on the Stars, members, and there's the woman who's like smiling and like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like those little moments really ruined it for me, because it's like, it's one thing if, the Major Kane guy is just off his rocker, but for all these people to be that level of evil is just doesn't make sense. These are fellow soldiers, these are friends, comrades. Like for them to so willingly be ready to shoot on them just took me out of it.
Yeah, that's I think that's the inexperience of the director. But then Anderson wrote this,
Right.
but you wonder how much has been changed from the initial draft, because he is a good writer.
Yeah.
I think this is because it's such a large franchise, this is being made by committee. And they just want you to think end of level battery. Like you can see they're trying to make it play like a video game as opposed to the story.
Right.
And this is where things are still trying to figure themselves out. Don't forget, this is PS1. Was it PS2 even out then?
I'm not sure. Mm,
Yeah,
I could
you know
check.
what I mean?
Yeah.
This is, PS1, maybe in the PS2 era of games. They were still figuring them out. Like it was the end of PS2 where this formula was nailed down, this narrative storytelling. Like
PS2
Resident Evil
was out. It came out in 2000. Yeah, but it's early
early
on. Yeah.
days, yeah.
But I put this on the director because I think you could have the exact same dialogue, the exact same scene, but after they give the order for the soldiers to shoot, all you need to show is the soldiers like really like looking at each other and like panicking and like having second thoughts. It just takes a moment of screen time. And
Mhm.
same thing when Major Kane gives the woman on the controls the order to have Nemesis fire on stars. Instead of her smiling and being happy about it,
Okay, okay.
yeah, if she had just looked back and like, what are you effing crazy? And then he's like, do it. And then he like intimidates her and then she does it. The scene plays out the same, but
Mhm.
for a moviegoer like me, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I think just like I said, just having that checkpoint on the other side of the bridge. You have the
Yeah,
bridge there, use the thing, and there's a whole narrative, a whole chance for it would just change the style of the movie.
100%. Yeah,
But
little things like that is what hold the movie back from being great, but it's still fun, still
yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, because there's
Yeah.
more, like I said, these are niggly bits, an otherwise fun, enjoyable, great sequel. Like
Yes,
how often do you get a great sequel to movies? It's uh like hen's teeth. The night
I
you get
enjoyed
the
I enjoyed this more than the first one. I was curious if you felt the same way.
yeah, it felt more grounded. Where there was a bit of like with the team, they looked too shiny and looked too. It looked like it was a soundstage as opposed to actually get into the hive.
Right.
The tactical team and stuff looked a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, which is, it did what it did. It was a good introduction. Like they had really clunky CGI. It really stood out with the lickers.
Yeah,
And we'll
yeah,
meet the lickers again in this, and they're looking much better because they mute them. The nighttime scenes in Raccoon City, like you see the pockets of the police trying to get together,
yes.
trying to contain the horde. That's the video game.
I was gonna say those are some of my favorite scenes when the police is fighting the zombies in the street because it really brought me back to playing that video game. I just wanted to just put the movie on pause, go find the old
Yeah. Go wire up a console and
wire up a console and get playing. It was
actually they're
very
all
very
available on
great.
Steam. They've remastered them, they've redone them for PC.
Okay.
But I'm not downloading anymore until I get of a game next week where I have something downloaded, a VTT, and once I play that game, I'm rebooting this computer, reformatting it to see what the issue is because like I said, my Resident Evil 1 doesn't work
Yeah.
anymore, and I want to get that fixed before getting the other because they're doing them in bundles now. You can get it the first 3 as a bundle.
Yeah, you wanted to finish the first game
I want to
before you
finish the
moved on to
first
the
game as
second. Yeah,
well and
gotcha. Gotcha.
go on to the next. But yeah, you just felt like the game, and also being older, I'm thinking back to me being that age and the happy times, like just a carefree aspect. You know what I mean? Because no responsibilities. So
Mm,
partying the weekends. If it wasn't up the hill, so I spent a lot of time up hills the weekends. But I still went out to the bars. I was having a role playing club, or a gaming club. It was wargaming as well. But that we hung out. I was doing all sorts. You just felt like the world was living, and we just went into the new millennium, and all this technology was becoming available, and everything was just getting better.
mm. So because the movie reminded you of that game, and that game reminded you of that era, that
Just
time in
that,
your
yeah,
life.
just that
Yeah,
time where
that's awesome.
there was a genuine positivity into the millennium. There was a genuine positivity about the world, or was that just me?
No, I was thrilled that Y2K problem wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, once that was sorted, you know what I mean? That was the big thing. But once
Yeah,
they fixed that, but then we
yeah,
just seemed to start this was the escalation of technology and interactiveness, and gaming wasn't the Atari anymore. Do you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
Bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop. No, you're actually getting involved, and there was some of the earliest VR stuff was out, which was a bit ropey, but hey, there was trying. You know what I mean? You just felt like it was
Yeah.
all to play for and anything was possible.
Yeah.
And just this movie, I think, is just hitting that sweet spot with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But yeah, we'll get the church scene because obviously we had to find a way for Alice and Jill to meet up.
That was some entry.
But Ashford using the phones, like still landlines back then, folks. There's still payphones.
Yeah.
Different type. But it was like I said, that was all the transition from that to today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Ashford's basically using the cameras and the CCTV, and he wants somebody to go and grab his daughter. Which another thing I don't understand later on because he basically said to Kane that's what he's going to do. Because that got taken out, picking up his daughter. And for Kane to act the way he does doesn't make any sense. Like, all right, well, if you can do that, it's altering nothing in his mission.
Right.
Except, I don't know, generate loyalty from Ashford.
Yeah. And I couldn't understand that plot line where he was so ready to dismiss Ashford. Like, I understand the T virus was already created, so that part's done. But what if they're
kill the golden goose that lays the eggs? That's the earliest story of mankind. You don't kill the golden goose.
What if there's some issue with it down the road? Or what if, like you want to create other products? Like, why are you killing this guy?
But
And why wouldn't you help him? You have all these resources. Go send in a helicopter and get the daughter out. Like, why not?
Don't lock him out of all the systems. Just what's he do? He's not altering your plan. And in fact, by showing you're a team player, you have a loyal colleague.
Absolutely.
And if you've got somebody of that intellect on your team, you're winning.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my third flaw was, and we've touched on it already, was the villain. The villain, Major King to me was a big failure in the movie. And this is one example of it, just how he treats Ashford. Yeah.
So Ashford's doing all this in secret, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
But it worked. Although, in fairness, it worked that using the phones and ringing and making the offer to the two teams, and he's got a way to get them off, get his daughter. It was all reasonable.
Yeah, that was very cool. I like the tenseness where he's just hoping someone can pick up, someone that has a chance to get his daughter. As it turns out, it was kind of a cool plot line that the daughter really was never in danger because she has the T virus in her. And so the other zombies don't recognize her as human, and they just kind of leave her alone. But she still needed to get out because they were going to nuke the place anyway.
Yeah, and that's it worked. The actual premise of the story worked. It was a good storyline. You have the stakes, you have the countdown. You have the time element, you have the mission, you have a way out of the situation. So they're not just running about trying to figure things out. They've actually been given exposition. Ashford serves a purpose as providing exposition, but it's not clunky. Right. He has motivation to provide exposition. The thing with Angie makes sense. Of course, there's a chance that was going to happen. That's the chaos factor.
Right.
They're racing through the city, but yeah, a truck smashing into hers is entirely going to happen as everything's going to ratchet.
Yeah. Yeah. I was under the impression that was already someone who had turned, who was at the driver of the truck had already turned.
Possibly.
Or
had a heart attack, or, just driving, losing the plot, driving chaotically.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, I was at a roundabout. Handbrake on, not even moving. Next thing you know, poof, someone in the back of me.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, what I mean? That's nothing I did. I was not moving. Handbrake was on just because it's a busy roundabout, so you have to, you don't rush at it anyway. Sure enough, sitting there minding my own business, somebody plays in the back of me. It happens. That's just interacting with the world.
Yeah.
So this in absolute chaos makes sense. So that's all the plot lines were tied together in this movie. And
absolutely.
Except
I don't want
Umbrella.
Yeah. That's why I don't want people to get the wrong impression because we're harping on some of the negatives that we didn't enjoy it. Like you said, the major plot works, the storyline works with the why people took the T virus and why it was created, Like all of that worked for me. So overall, it's a very effective, fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they will get the church scene. So obviously Jill, some of the stars, and Numpty Bollocks. No, he hasn't
What?
appeared yet, has he? LJ?
No.
No, he's not
If
the
he
leader.
did, it might have been like a
No, he wasn't
random
in the
scene.
church. No, he wasn't. Okay.
He wasn't in the church. No.
No, that's okay.
No.
So they go in the church and
Yeah.
then they find out that the pastor is, I don't know what denomination it is, but the pastor basically is kept his sister and is feeding her.
He's doing my Shaun of the Dead idea, where he has the sister locked up and he's feeding
Yep.
her flesh. Yeah.
But not just that, we'll have lickers. So the lickers have actually got out from the hive as well,
Yeah.
just to add more chaos.
Yeah.
They looked a hell of a lot better.
They did. And I think this touches on one of the reasons the game is so successful is that they have such a great variety of bad guys to shoot at. So if you get tired of just playing zombies, you have the lickers, you have Nemesis, you have other, fun elements to it. And I think the movie, captures that by having the lickers in the scene
Yeah,
instead of just
because
random
genetic
zombies.
mutation, they're creating bioweapons, they're experimenting. Sometimes it goes right, sometimes it goes wrong.
Yeah.
But then obviously they're going to keep the results. Like I'll refer you back to The Fly 2, if you remember that.
Yeah.
The Labrador.
Yeah.
You know, it went wrong, but they kept it to study it to see what the long-term effects were.
Right. Right.
Horrible. Works on a horror level, but
Yeah.
that's what happens. So they've got all these abominations, and who knows what else. That's the whole beauty of the game, because it's experimentation and messing with the fabric of life and not just humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get anything, so it opens up the world. That's where the Alien franchise fell on its arse. It couldn't get past the Xenomorph, and it couldn't get past Ellen Ripley.
Yeah.
And it
I
can't
can
get
see that.
past the first movies. They could do it's only prequels now, like rewriting over the top of its own movies, which is stupid.
Right. Right.
The whole premise of deep dark space, you can find anything out there, has went amiss because they ran out of imagination.
Yeah. That's a shame. Yeah. But some people might complain that the church scene, like Alice, was like over the top. She was doing all these fantastical things. But I disagree, because I feel it's in keeping with a video game.
Yeah,
You're a video game. You're a superhero in the video game, and you want to be able to do cool
like
stuff
who's
like
gonna
that.
have a holster like that and a holster like that, and wearing a pair of shorts and a tank top?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
That is
So
not practical. Like you see that thing swinging about, like that's not even remotely practical.
yeah.
And nobody
So,
does that. You know what I mean? That is the most impractical thing to do.
but it looks cool though.
Yeah,
It looks cool. It's keeping with the fun. Like that's the premise of the movie. It's the fun. And I like the bullet time. A lot of times people are like, oh, the bullet time, the slow motion is overused, but I thought it was effective. They didn't do it in every scene.
no, just
So
a few.
just a few. And I thought it was fun that the bullet had the umbrella logo on it. Yeah, I thought the whole church scene worked. And it was very lucky for them that she had it was a bike ramp or something, because that motorcycle came out of the second story.
Yeah,
So that was useful. There was a
that's
long ramp leading up, Mission Impossible style.
yeah, but that's once again. I think we've got enough reality in this. Once again, the reality's been grounded that you sort of you're on board with the characters, you're on board with the scenario. So let's have a bit of fun and ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And for sake, it's not the worst action movie. What I mean? This is action horror,
No, it looked
sci-fi
great.
horror.
It absolutely looked great. And it turns out they couldn't obviously destroy a church, and the church is not going to let them, film this type of movie in it. So they had to build the church set from scratch, which took 6 weeks. And like that level of care, that goes into a movie. Like nowadays, they would do it with CGI. They would put the people in the void, or what do they call it, where they have
The sound stage.
yeah. There's a name.
Green.
Yeah, but there's one they do it for the Mandalorian all the time, and shows like that where it's just basically like a circle of
Oh,
green
with the
screen.
panoramic background and the
Yeah,
digitized. Yeah,
I forget the name of it, but anyway, that's how they would do it now, and it just wouldn't look the same as this. This you could tell it was done with care, and it really looked believable. It looked like they really destroyed this church, and I thought it was a great scene.
and they use CGI for the liquors and the bike and stuff, but because they mix it with practical effects and they use squibs as well, the CGI is just a layer over the top, so it blends and it works.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
And I was on board. Like I said, you know what sort of movie you're getting. You're not. This isn't an intellectual thought piece. Yes,
Right.
there's a few. Do you remember subtext was a thing? You know, I mean, there's few socio-political issues about giant corporations, which is probably illegal now to talk about, getting too powerful. But it's not the whole story. And it's a very human story at the end of the day. You know, oh, we're in the shit. How do we get out of the shit? Oh, here's somebody's going to help us. We just have to do this thing. And it's not being asked to do anything inhumane. Actually, it's a father trying to save his daughter.
Right.
I'm on board with that. Let's go.
Yeah. And it just, speaks to the dangers of, messing with, bioengineering and things like that, and what people are willing to risk to harm their bodies for, a chance at eternal youth or whatever. So there's some subtle, like, interesting, story threads that I think work effectively too, even though it's just a video game movie.
But I think that's the point. Video games were changing.
Yeah.
Video games became the entertainment. That's why they're all latching onto it now, because it burnt out Hollywood. Now they've latched on the video game industry. Now they're burning it to the ground because they're idiots. And actually, the AAA games are going down the toilet, and the indie games are picking up because people are just like, nah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, this was a major shift, and video games weren't just a little pastime. Like, the big gamer, you have to dedicate hours. Like, it's hardcore. You know yourself, if you're wanting to complete a video game, you're dedicating a week more, and not just it's almost like a shift at work to get a game completed. It's not an idle thing.
For me, it takes longer too, because I always get buried by the optional quests in these games.
Are you a side quest person?
I'm a side quest person. I remember one game, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I must have spent an hour and a half just looking for Nirnroot. It's basically a spell component. It's flowers. I picked flowers in a video game for an hour and a half. So at the end, when I turned off the the Xbox, I was like, what did I just do? I just picked flowers in a video game. What's wrong with me? But
you had fun.
Yeah, I did have fun.
But once again, it's things like that are just, gaming was the crux of it. Gaming was changing the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, normies didn't get it.
It's very engaging medium, because unlike a movie where you're, you're basically.
But I remember Wing Commander. Like, I'm just showing me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I liked Wing Commander. Yeah,
that was one of the first attempts at this. Wing Commander. PC.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was a great game. It was like the Tiger Aliens or something, right? Or yeah. That was a lot of fun.
But you had the options. You could play in the CD. Rob went as you picked your video option, the scene.
Yep, that was great. Yeah. But video games give you the option, almost like a choose your own adventure, where you're part of it, where there's just something that connects you more to the story because it's your choices, especially the good ones, where they really are legitimately, more than one choice. Sometimes video games give you the illusion that you're making a choice, and then it turns out if you play the game back and you make the other choice, it leads you to the same exact place, which is disappointing. But there are certain video games, like for me, Mass Effect was a good one, where it really does feel like a choose your own adventure, and it gives you that kind of control over the story to impact it, to affect.
Yeah, you're not passive. You're not a passive.
Right, not passive. Exactly.
You're actually taking part.
Right, which a movie could never do.
No,
so
but
I agree. Yeah.
That's fair enough. But yeah, the scene in the church, that's where Alison meets up with Jill's team and we sort of get a wee bit more backstory in the fact that they're on the same mission.
Right.
However, we've got a zombie outbreak. The dead are coming back to life. Where's the dumbest place to go? Like, where do you not go during a zombie outbreak?
It's zombie outbreak 101. You don't go to the cemetery.
You don't walk through the cemetery and thinking it's going to be okay.
Right. But I noticed when I was watching the cemetery that things were a little bit different in the cemetery than they were in the rest of the world. And Colin, good buddy, I started thinking.
You doing this thinking stuff again?
I did some thinking, some real good thinking this time.
I guess we better do it then.
Let's do it.
It's a theory. It's a Chris. It's a theory.
Chris's crazy theory.
Aha! They look like alien sunglasses.
Yeah. And I can't see out of them, so this is not going to last.
Welcome to my world.
So I might have to take them off for now. But joke landed. But yes, so you bring up a great point about the cemetery. So just so we catch up the audience, what part we're talking about. So they're having this conversation because it's also a good idea when you're in a cemetery during a zombie outbreak to just stop and talk. You don't want to just like move quickly through it, right? You want to stop and have a detailed conversation.
Of course, because that makes sense. Yeah, like get into the cemetery in the first place.
Right, exactly. So if you look at the first screen, just to catch the audience up, this is the part where they're talking and then a zombie breaks through the ground and grabs the leg of the reporter. So we know that the T virus requires an injection, like our buddy the rabbit from the first movie will kindly demonstrate for us. Thank you, Mr. Rabbit. So it requires an injection or like a fluid transmission from a bite, right? Mm-hmm. But let's think about this for a moment. The cemetery, the corpses in the cemetery, they're all in coffins. So there's no fluid transmission that's getting through. There's no one biting them. There's no evidence. We don't see any of the zombies like, digging underground or anything like that. Like if we go back to the beginning, like the ground was perfectly solid until they broke through. So
I've seen Return of the Living Dead, but I didn't see any rainstorms.
I didn't see any rainstorms.
Didn't see the weather forecast. In fact, there was a weather forecast. It was sunny, wasn't it?
It was hot, which explains why Alice and Jill had.
How could they get that wrong?
But it doesn't explain why there would be some sort of fluid transmission to activate these zombies that were in coffins, right? So let's think about this. Maybe like it somehow leaked into the ground. Well, actually, stay on there. Actually, if we look back at the first movie, they were very clear to show that the hive was intentionally buried underground, more than 2,000 feet underground, just to avoid such a situation like this. So the T virus can't have gotten into like the ground or the groundwater or anything like that. So that doesn't explain it, right? So I started to look further. The zombies in the cemetery look different than the zombies in the rest of the world. They're considerably slower, for sure, and they're more decomposed. Fresh. What's that?
They're not as fresh. The ones in the city are kind of fresh, doesn't just kill.
Exactly. So there's something different about them. And there's another example. That one's a little bit harder to see, but they're more decomposed for sure than the zombies we see in the rest of the movies, both movies. This is a little better example. This woman must have died recently. She looks okay, but the other ones are definitely more decomposed and slower.
Also, wouldn't the embalming process kind of throw a spanner in the works?
How so?
They don't have any of their organs or fluids. You know how embalming works, don't you?
Right. Yeah.
It's also, I think it's
Exactly.
almost a legal requirement, isn't it?
Yeah. So you're helping me. I like this.
Oh
I have
dear, that's not what I'm meant to do. Oh shit.
right. So it couldn't have been fluid transmission. So something is different is going on with these cemetery zombies. Also, they're much slower. If you notice the zombies in the streets, like these guys, they were much quicker than the ones that we see in the cemetery.
You ever slept for like 12 hours, just conked out, and then you wake up and you're a bit groggy?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I'm just
years in the coffin, you know what I mean? Yeah, that'd be kind of.
Oh, you're saying they just needed to stretch a little bit more?
Yeah, and you just dug yourself out. They need to stretch a bit. Come on, give them a break.
Well, I did some research and I looked at all of the zombies that we've seen in the movies, and I calculated their speed, their walking speed. Some are faster than others. Sometimes we see them moving quickly.
What's the average walking speed of a zombie?
I'm glad
the
you
Resident Evil. Is this zombies of all time or just the Resident Evil?
No, just the first two movies.
Are we going to get a comparison between the average walking speed of zombies between franchises?
I haven't done that yet, but maybe look for that in a future video.
Later.
In the first two movies of all the zombies is 1.14 miles per hour, or I know you're going to ask, 1.83 kilometers per hour. That's for our international friends or you metric buffs out there. So that's the zombies that we see throughout the movies. But the ones in the cemetery. Oh, and here's an example of how they can move very quickly, like towards the end of the movie when they're attacking Major Kane.
The fresh ones.
Yeah, you see, right? The fresh ones. You see them swarming, and they can move obviously much quicker. So the ones in the cemetery, I measured it. It was 0.59 miles per hour, less than half, or 0.95 kilometers per hour. So these zombies are definitely different. So your point is that maybe they just they need to stretch a little bit more because they just
cardio,
a little more cardio, which is something that I've heard many times about myself. But it wasn't just the fact that they were slower; they were weaker as well. As demonstrated in this picture, Jill and Alice were able to beat the shit out of all of them, whereas the zombies in the background are slowly moving towards them, which we don't see in any of the other scenes with any of the other zombies the rest of the movie. So clearly these zombies are different. And here's an example. She just casually back kicks this one, while the other zombies are in the cemetery are just moping around. They're not aggressive. They're not looking for blood like we see in the rest of the movies.
I can't believe she stopped off in an army surplus stores and they were the treasures she picked. Like they weren't very robust.
Yeah. Well,
like both legs get ripped off by the end of the movie, or is that them just not liking Mila Jovovich wearing clothes?
Well, she did say it was hot, So, when it's 90-degree heat, you want to make sure.
Double entendre there.
That is true.
Oh, don't get overexcited.
Oh, no. That's what happens when I get excited. My hat blows off. But the point is that these zombies are clearly different than the rest of the movie. All right. Again, another example how slow they were. The entire team towards the top of the shot, they were able to just casually move off. Not a single one of the team was actually hurt during this because these zombies were slow, and they're definitely different. And I started to think about, why are they so different? This is the best example here. Look at this poor guy, right? This guy, it says, had died in 1917. So this is my final piece of evidence that the cemetery zombies were not the same as the T-virus zombies that we see. All right. In the first movie, the Red Queen tells us how the T-virus works. And I quote, "Even in death, the human body still remains active. Hair and fingernails continue to grow. New cells are produced, and the brain itself holds a small electrical charge that takes months to dissipate. The T-virus provides a massive jolt both to cellular growth and to those trace electrical impulses." So that means that after a few months, those trace impulses are gone and the virus shouldn't work. So why would the virus be able to work on a poor sucker like this guy who died in 1917? And the reason is, say it with me, Alice and friends just happened to stumble upon a regular run-of-the-mill zombie apocalypse while walking in a cemetery at night. Talk about your bad luck.
Pesky zombie apocalypses getting in with a T-virus apocalypse. God, when all these apocalypses combine, what can I say? It's disaster. There you go, folks.
It's a theory. It's a Chris. It's a theory. Chris. Chris's crazy theory.
Oh. You can click some buttons too, Chris, you know. And help me out. You know, I'll have to click about 6 buttons here.
Well, I'm worried I was going to hit the end stream button by mistake. I am the worst with technology.
You are a technophobe. Thoughts and is that coming out? I enjoyed Troll. I like the first one. Has Troll 2 come out? Have I missed that?
I haven't seen the first one.
Oh,
Let me do a quick search.
First one's good fun. Hold on. Yeah, I'm thinking that one came out 2000.
There was a Troll 2 movie in 1990. There was a Troll 2 movie, but I never saw it.
Oh, right. No, I'm thinking a recent one. Sorry. Was called Troll, wasn't it? 2018 it came out.
Oh, let me take a look. Troll 2018 movie. There was a Troll Hunter 2010.
Oh, Troll Hunter. That's the only, apart from Deadstream, the only found footage movie I like. I'm mixing up with something else.
Okay. I'm probably the worst person to ask this.
So official thoughts are complete blank at the moment because I need to remind myself.
Sorry. It sounds like Lovebug wants us to review that on the channel. So maybe
that could happen.
Schedule. Yeah, we do take requests.
Yeah, because like we don't have a massive back catalog of stuff not covered yet.
Well, 2027 is wide open right now, so
yeah, we'll get right in it. It's only 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
January can't remember. I'm a numpty. Right. Anyway, so yeah, let's just accidentally walk into a normal zombie outbreak. Why not? You remember Return of the Living Dead? How that worked?
Yeah.
They opened up the government canister, and then they decided to burn the bodies in the crematorium. Goes into the air, turns the rain, raids at the cemetery. Everybody gets up, and you're just like, "Yeah, that's brilliant."
Some movies do take more time than others to try to explain these things away.
There's a reason why certain movies are rewatchable after 30 or 40 years.
Right.
But needless to say, let's give Nemesis a whirl about the town. Why not?
Yeah. He was cool looking. I read that the suit for the Nemesis weighed in excess of 60 pounds, and the stuntman could only stay in it for periods of 15 minutes because it just got too hot. I mean, the thing looked massive. It was very cool practical effect.
But yeah, wearing latex, if you remember back in the day, like the old latex masks and stuff, like you were boiling.
Yeah.
All that is just heavy gear. Yeah. I just love the way that the helicopter drop in is ammunition.
Right.
Like, they don't have it there waiting. They don't have them a specific. They have them in a normal hospital for a start. In Raccoon City. The same place I had Alice actually.
That's true. Yeah.
But, yeah. Wee bit contrived, but at the same time, it works. Okay, let's drop them off. Let's activate them. The Stars guys think, right, there's a helicopter going to the hospital. Let's get a lift.
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of wanting to test Nemesis out in this type of situation. You're going to, nuke the place. There's not going to be any records of anything to get out. but why turn them on the stars, people? You have plenty of targets, you just have him shoot up zombies and you could test out his capabilities. Like, I didn't get it. And like, why even waste him potentially getting hit by the stars? Like, what benefit is if he gets shot back at? Like, that's not testing anything. You could potentially be ruining another asset. So it didn't make sense, and it was like evil to an extreme that's it was just
mustache twirling,
mustache
wearing,
yeah,
just
yeah,
for no reason.
Yeah, so that bothered me. Yeah.
Did he need the minigun and the rocket launcher? Could he not have just escaped from the facility?
Right. That's a good point.
What did I know they're harking to the game, etc., but could they not have just had him escape?
Yeah.
Or wake up like Alice did? There's a scene later on which annoyed me because it took away from the first one, but we'll get to that. But yeah, we've got them. They run on the hospital. They encounter Nemesis, and then we get round one, fight. Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, and Paul Anderson directed Mortal Kombat, so that was definitely.
I just picture like Nemesis stand there going, and I'll stand there going.
Yeah. And they can only move back a few feet.
Yeah,
because in the invisible wall.
I genuinely felt like that was where we're going.
Right. Yeah. And I got the impression that we're not supposed to know until the end of the movie that he still is retaining some of his human memories from the first movie, Nemesis. But
that was telegraphed from the end of the first movie that was going to happen.
But I got yeah, no, I thought so by the end of the first movie, but I thought it midway through the movie when Nemesis is shooting the people and then he's shooting at Alice. At first I was like, well, if he's shooting at Alice, then he has no control. He's a slave to the the instructions that he's being given. And then at the end of the movie, we realize that he does have some ability to override that and he doesn't want to kill Alice. But at this point, when he's first fighting her, I did think that at first I thought he has no control because he's shooting at her. He's trying to kill her. But then I started to notice all the times he was missing her when he was shooting at her. And it reminded me of a drunk stormtrooper. I mean,
especially when you got a minigun.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right?
You're like, there's nothing getting in the way. Let's be honest. Like, you're not. You hide behind a car, it doesn't matter. You turn the car to shreds. That's the whole point of a minigun, is that nothing's left.
Yeah. So I thought this was like a plot hole or it was like shot weird. But then this is a case where sometimes the end of the movie can actually help make a plot hole go away earlier in the movie. So by the end of the movie, the fact that he's trying not to kill her, then I started to rethink, okay, maybe in this scene here, he really is intentionally missing because he shot a lot of bullets just near her.
He's sort of fighting back against the instructions.
So that's the only way that makes sense to me, is if that was the case.
Yeah, I would get that. And yeah, this is an aspect where they could have saved this stuff. It's almost like they're rushing ahead of themselves. Like, there's plenty in this movie without even bringing Nemesis on board, if I'm honest.
Right.
They could have saved that for 3-4 movies easily. This shows that it was made by committee and a lack of confidence, once again, in the story they were telling. We have a good story here involving the same character and introducing new characters and still involving the same premise. And there's plenty going on.
Yeah.
And Nemesis could have been the tease. It could have been extracted. The helicopter could have been extracting Nemesis for a later movie.
Yeah. I think I guess they wanted to have like a big bad guy at the end, but I think it would have been more effective if the nuclear bomb that's going to go off
was the bad guy.
That is the bad guy, right? You have to get out before the time is up. And I think that is more effective. I think the Nemesis thing, kind of detracted from that, particularly at the end when it became a fist fight. It just didn't work
for
for
no
me.
reason.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like the clock's ticking and stuff, and they're going to dick about doing
Yeah.
silly things
Exactly.
with expensive. Like it's the equivalent
Assets.
of you're in the Air Force Base of the Army, but right, I'm going to get an Apache versus a Merlin, and let's just get them to smash against each other. Like you're talking quite a few millions worth of like hardware there,
Right.
and not only out there, but if you're wrecking your own fleet, or getting two warships to go, let's see, this is the new one. Let's see which one wins, and you start using live ammunition and blatting against each other just to see what happens. It's silly.
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm glad you feel that way too, because to me that detracts from what's otherwise a great movie.
Yeah, because there's a gritty story being told here, and
Mhm.
like I said, just the city scenes at night are Resident Evil. Like you're not taking anything away from the fans of the game, and keeping Nemesis for later on after the apocalypse has happened, because that was the whole point of Nemesis, if I remember rightly. Whereas Umbrella trying to take over the world again, in the new world, and all the weapons they've developed are being put into play because the outbreaks happened.
Okay.
Like I said, I need to go back. It's been years,
Yeah.
like decades.
I just played the one game, so I don't remember it that well. Yeah.
So we had all that. So yeah, the Alice versus Nemesis scene, I get it. She needs a big bad. She's superpowered. She needs a big bad to fight. And it's showing the difference between, and that's the oldest trope, isn't it? The big muscle bound weightlifter versus the martial artist.
Yeah.
Who would win?
Right.
And it's one of them, if the weightlifter lands a punch, you're out. But it's can the martial artist not, avoid that one punch is going to take their head off and beat them. It's the oldest trope in action movies.
Yeah.
Since the dawn of time.
David versus Goliath. Yeah, we see it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm not a fan of action movies, because they're so boring.
Yeah.
And repetitive. Like we can pick apart horror movies, but oh my god, if we were to watch action movies, gotta be like
yeah.
There's no plot in half of them.
The best ones I've seen where it's a bigger muscled person against like a smaller one are the movies. I'm trying to think of an example where the smaller character uses is cunning, the environment, uses things to try to defeat the monster. I don't like
Ip Man 2.
Which one?
Ip Man 2.
I don't think I saw that.
Donnie Yen. He's in the ring against the boxer.
Okay.
Ip Man 4, he's fighting against Mike Tyson.
Huh. Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, that whole thing, he's using Wing Chun. The boxers using Western style boxing. Basically, if they land their punches, you're taking your head off.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing of, Wing Chun needs to land 6 punches compared, and that's the nature of the style anyway. Wing Chun needs to land about 6 or 7 hits, but the style is designed to land 6 or 7 hits, as opposed to a Western style boxer, which is one of the most devastating martial arts out there. Believe it or not, you're getting your head punched in a boxer, and that's it. Poof, lights out.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like there was a way they could have made it more interesting, but as it was, it didn't quite.
It was what it was, but thankfully it didn't take away until the end. This is where the movie kind of the wheels fall off a bit. It's not until the end it really interrupts the plot. Here, it's kind of, okay, we've got this thing going about, why not?
Yeah.
They're going to test it and then make it walk to the helicopter. Because they can't land, they need something bigger than a whirlybird to pick it up anyway. So they'll have to walk there, so they may as well give it weapons and test it. Just the execution was a bit ham-fisted.
Yeah, I agree.
But we get the main team going to the school. And to me, that this is one of the pure horrifying, just the way that those kids in the school.
Yes. That was a scary scene. Although My wife is a teacher, and she's been a substitute teacher at times. And I don't think those are zombie kids. I think this is just what happens to
Just
substitute.
normal kids, yeah, to substitute teachers.
This is how they treat them.
No,
No,
but
but
the makeup and all is
that
well
was
done and everything else, and
yeah. That the whole school scene was scary. Now I don't like the idea where they said they had to split up, but maybe you can say in the interest because they did have that deadline with the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
They're like, look, the school is too big. We do have to split up, but if you see anything, just shout. They should have done something like that, but it was okay. Like they explained it away at least,
But they were resistant against it as well because this is where they picked up LJ as well, and
yeah,
Jill had to shoot her partner after this thing, and oh god, he's like he should have got killed and kept the partner. He was a better character.
LJ, yeah,
he was irritating.
Very irritating.
It's like that guy. Oh, you haven't seen that, but there's a similar actor or character in Event Horizon, and he just derails the whole movie with his stupid quips and yo yo yo, fuck this. It's just like shut up.
Yeah, I hate that trope that they you see it in a lot of movies.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I was just watching a TV show Fringe with a buddy of mine, and they have a character like that. He's a taxi driver, and it's like it's to me. It's insulting. Like come up with a normal, well-rounded character. Like
good characters. What a mad idea! What a crazy, disgusting idea. Like that's never going to take off.
But just like the idea of like box checking, like we need to have a black actor here, so we have to find a role.
He's not the only one. They just made him annoying. Like he wasn't the only. That's the thing. The other guy killed off better characters. He just partner have the same skin tone.
Yeah, so the partner was great.
It was just a shit fucking character.
Yeah, but the partner was great. He was a great character. He was loyal and he was believable in the action scenes. He was like properly terrified of what's going on. I thought the partner was great.
Nobody was ever. Once again, this is the 2020s fucking mindset going back in these. Like we never even thought of that shit back then.
Yeah.
It was just he's a crap character. He's a cool character. That's all we really thought. And it's just today's fucking current dopiness, which we'll not get into because that's fucking just gives me a headache. But the whole thing with the school and trying to find Angie, and then she gives a bit of exposition about the fact that she's using the T virus. Or the antidote to hold back the full mutagen. If she doesn't take the antidote, she's going to end up like the rest of them.
Right.
But it's serving a purpose. And obviously it's still experimental. But she's able, it was showing how that something coming out of good can be used for evil. I always go back to the in India, they discovered a chili that was way off a Scoville scale, like the hottest chili, and the Indian Army commandeered it. So it didn't go into food production, it went into pepper spray.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because it was that powerful that went into the weapons division.
Right.
You know what I mean? That just shows how something innocent, that's a food item, shows certain properties and then it can be used. It's best intentions, but there's always, there's always other applications.
Yeah, it's always the user and how it's used. Yeah, for sure.
Even the nuclear bomb, that was out of that was a desire to create fission, trying to discover nuclear fission. A perpetuous source of energy, but somebody realized, well, if you use fusion, that makes things go kaboom.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
we need things to go kaboom right now, so yoink.
Yeah,
that's the nature of humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great example. Yeah,
but then we get that whole scene where Ashford's discovered helping the team. He wasn't exactly secret about it, so what the hell? This is where the series starts to derail a bit, and I go a bit, why?
Yeah, that ruined it. Just Kane in general, but especially how he handled Ashford. It just it took me out of the movie because I try to get in the mindset like, okay, obviously this is an evil character. I don't agree with his decisions, but if it at least makes sense from their twisted point of view, then I can get on board. But when it doesn't even make sense from their perspective, why would you ruin an asset? Like you
Here's a
said.
line of dialogue, for example, the whole Nemesis thing. Nemesis is currently holed up in the hospital. We can't get the helicopters to transport him. He'll need to move. Drop him weapons to defend himself, but we'll carry out a test while we're doing it. Just that simple line of dialogue or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Solves the Nemesis problem. It needs to walk because it's the only way it's getting there because it's that huge. The big helicopter that's going to lift it.
Right.
So to drop it off some weapons, right? Make your way here. Target, blip, 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 anything in your way. Things get in its way.
Right.
There you go. There's a non-evil practical method of that. We need this asset because it's worth X squillions, in research and development to walk to the helicopter, but it can't be stopped.
Right.
There's your plot device, and it just kills anything in its way.
I like it.
It needs to get there before the bomb drops.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like a lot of these scripts could use our help just to tweak a couple things.
There's somebody, I don't know what it is, the culture, but they just need somebody with a bit of common sense. But it seems to be that whole world, the whole Hollywood, the whole entertainment complex doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And it's like a bunch of people just getting overexcited, oh, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And nobody's going, whoa, let's all dial it back a bit. Here's the basic story. This is where we're going. And move forward at and make it as best as possible. That element seems to be gone.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it back here. Even Steve and I are seeing it back from the 50s and 60s. The movies that you can just see where the committees got overexcited and nobody's dialing them back.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah, so then we'll have this whole contrived fight where we'll have your typical motorcycle helmet. That was a trope of the 2000s. I hope it never comes back. Let's have the goons wear motorcycle helmets so we can recycle them.
Gotcha. I didn't think of that at the time.
That was such a trope.
That's why they did it. So
Equilibrium, Aeon Flux, Ultraviolet. Any of those sort of movies, that was the thing. The goons wore motorcycle helmets.
See, that's a good point. I didn't think of it for that reason. I thought the reason they did that is because as an audience, you're not supposed to feel bad for
that too, but it's also you can use the same extras.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like if you see their faces though, you may feel bad because these are hired people that are, just doing their job and stuff like that. And maybe it would detract from the fact that you want them to be evil. You want them to be
faceless. You don't
faceless.
care. They're just things that get knocked over.
Right.
But even the fact that Kane he knows they're coming, so he puts out a guard to trap them when there was no need. He just had to. In fact, all they had to do was bring Alex and jump on the helicopter. What were they doing to get in the way of his mission?
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's Alex. Jump on board. Something goes wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nemesis breaks his program and goes apeshit. Then we can have the proper fight, with actually meaning something.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't control it. It's it's locked on. It's saying as all as hostiles, but we haven't fully tested this. Boop, boop, boop. There you go. And then Nemesis is the one actually to have to all team up together and fight against.
Right.
That wouldn't have cost any more.
I like it. Yeah, that makes sense.
But we'll get this anyway. And like I said, thankfully we've had such a fun movie for the most part that this doesn't take away from it too much.
Yes. There's a lot of good stuff here that overrides some of these complaints. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be one of those people that always knocks the people that create have a tougher job. You're taking something.
Well, it's easy to step from the sidelines and go,
right.
Right,
exactly. And I don't want to always just do that because definitely you're creating something from scratch. You should be, rewarded. And especially when you're trying to make a movie to entertain people and you're not trying to do messaging or anything like that. So I don't want to take away from any of that. There were some great story beats in this, but it's hard to ignore, and we shouldn't ignore the cane was a huge
Yeah,
issue.
but that's called constructive criticism. That's not
Constructive
part of the
criticism.
movie.
Yeah.
And that's where, because everyone why I keep bringing this up is the excuse today is the budget. That's the only, like, they're programmed to say the same 5 words in response to everything. Oh, toxic fandom, the budget. They're like the 2 responses, automatic responses to any form of criticism now to a property or
Yeah.
something that gets put out. And these aren't budget issues. These are just storytelling issues. Back to what I was saying, it doesn't matter about. And the thing is, this is still less than 500,000 or 50 million, isn't it?
It was 45, I think.
45. Yeah, so less than 50 million. Budgets today are 200 million plus, and they're shit.
Yeah.
Like I said, movies wish they could make a profit, never mind making this level of profit.
Yeah.
Movies need to make $1 billion just to break even today. And that's ridiculous. And it's because they're not being held in check. Because egos and everyone thinks they have a say in the story and they don't quality control, and it's not about, they don't even care about the story anymore. It's like, here's a property we haven't mind yet, let's jump on that, stick a big sticker on it, and the pay pigs will just turn up. That's the attitude today.
Right.
I've said with this one, there's still an attempt to tell a story, but you can see the bits where we've got an inexperienced director and where the committee has overridden them.
Agree.
To go, oh, this is a good idea. Oh, we need this. Oh, we need that. And he's went, instead of going, no, it doesn't fit.
Right. It's a fair point. Yeah.
But we still get, like, even after that, and they get on the helicopter and they deal with Kane, the movie's not over. It's not your typical fly off into the night, and everybody lives happily ever after sort of thing.
Right, which is what I was expecting. Yeah.
No, Kane basically manages to override the bomb and gets it launched early. And they don't escape. And the whole crash scene with the helicopter is brilliant. Like, that's some of the, I don't know, just the best camera work and tension, in a movie, I think. I don't think I've seen better.
And that's interesting that you bring that up, because the director, although it was his first time directing, was an experienced cameraman. So he might have really had a lot of influence in this section, and it worked very well. Because, like I said, I was expecting them to fly off into the distance and just have a happy ending. So when this came up and the camera's shaking and you're not sure who's going to survive, and there's a crash and there's a dead body, who's the body, like that whole scene was like real. I was really invested in that. That was great.
And I was, it makes sense. You don't just fly away from a nuclear bomb.
Right.
5 megaton nuclear bomb, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
There's going to be aftershock, there's all sorts, so it makes perfect sense. And they're not in a supersonic jet, they're in a big lumpy helicopter because they needed a big lumpy helicopter to pick up Nemesis.
Right.
But yeah, that was cool. And then the whole scene again with Alice, Alice is back in the lab. She was the body, we found out.
Yeah.
And and Ian Glenn, like, there's a character, there's somebody to bring on. I like him as an actor. He's one of them ones that's not used a lot, but when he is, he
looked familiar, but I couldn't place where I knew him from. Dr. Isaacs, right? Was it the character name? Yeah. He was cool.
Oh, he's a well-known actor. He played Bruce Wayne in that dozy Titan series.
Oh, okay.
Don't watch it.
Okay.
It's shit. It's absolutely. That's when I gave up with DC, actually. I think it was about that point. Yeah, the Titan series, I gave up with DC. I'm like, nah, I'm out completely.
Yeah.
From mainstream comics and tie-overs and everything else. Because
yeah. I enjoyed seeing Alice in a Bacta tank. That was fun. And there was a joke in the I didn't listen to the full director's commentary, but there was a joke in the director's commentary from the first movie where because what's her name? Alice's full name? Mila Jovovich. I keep messing that up. But she said in the commentary that she showed a nipple in the first movie, and Paul Anderson, her husband, who's the director of the first one, is like, well, if you were really committed to the movie, you would have shown 2 nipples. So in this movie, in the tank, we did get to see the 2 nipples.
I
So
think
that
they're still
shows that
married.
he's committed. I think they are. Yeah.
I think they're actually still married. So fair play to them. You know, that's, and especially in Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he married her. Like, that's all it took was a nipple. He married her. You know what I mean? So everybody's happy. What can I say?
Yeah. So that might have been a nod to that. But yeah, Dr. Isaacs seems like a fun character. I don't know if he shows up in the next one.
I think he does. He's, you know, they've obviously set this up to be a long running series. Like the thought ahead that they know that they're going to keep going. And also with the profit of this movie, how are you not?
Right.
It's almost guaranteed. Sequels already, you know, in the work. And plus, this is where they've stayed close to the game as well. You know, the general, you feel like you're in the game. You don't feel like it's departing.
Right.
So, yeah, as long as there's Resident Evil files, there's going to be Resident Evil movies. Yes, they do go straight to DVD after a while, but I think it's Afterlife. The next one is the last cinema release. Then it goes straight to DVD for the last 3.
Interesting.
But,
it seems strange. I
mean,
mean,
it's like any. I mean, don't forget, the cinema relies on the normie audience to keep it going.
Right.
For niche, you know, we know Resident Evil is like top, big game, but still, like you mentioned, Mario Kart and stuff. That's what normies play. That's always going to win.
Right.
The Mario movie makes $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's the sort of level. So, once again, I'm happy with that. I'm happy being in a niche. I'm happy being a fan of something. I'm happy getting something. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And for that moment, yeah, it enters the sphere, but as long as it doesn't get taken over by the normie sphere, which we're not going to cover it, the TV show, because it's not worth our time.
You remember you mentioning
shit. That's a complete departure from the game, and you can tell the difference. Yeah, we're not wasting our time on that. Couldn't get through the first episode. It was freaking gave up. It was horrible.
Yeah.
We could look at some of the animated stuff. Like there's a few animated entries into the franchise. We've done quite well. But yeah, you still get the feeling of this. You're in the game. You're in the game's universe.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's characters like Alice are created for the movie, but that's fine. It still fits.
Absolutely fits. And I love that group of Carlos, Jill, and Alice. I haven't seen the third one, so there's probably people watching this that are going to be like, no, it's nothing to do with that. But I'm hoping that those 3 are together, and I would enjoy a whole movie of just them as like a team trying to fight through whatever comes next. Because I thought they work well together. Those are 3 good actors, 3 good characters. So I guess we'll see.
They've also mentioned the fact that Alice bonded with the virus as opposed to being infected by it, so she's a completely different anomaly. And now I would say that she's been activated, so that actually when she was being healed, they've done something to her.
Yeah.
And they don't know what the plan is. And we don't know what's going on in the world. This is after the event of Raccoon City.
Right.
And we see the media cover up and all, and we see everything happening. But obviously the world is still... It's not an isolated incident. Something's happened. Because this is set about 6 months. It's not just immediately after. This is like a bit of time between the events of Raccoon City and now. And they finally located where she is. They're carrying out the rescue mission. But she was allowed to escape.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something else going on.
And I like that part where she melts the security guard's brain from afar.
Yeah, but that's showing that,
Yeah.
But then once again, that's the ESP. We're going to the ESP. We're going to unlocking parts of the brain. We're going to... These are all things that have been theorized as possible.
Right.
And the fact that we as a species know nothing. We think we know stuff, but we know nothing about the universe.
Yeah, what's the statistic that humans only use like 25% of their brains or something
right, but the thing is, we don't use all of our brain all at once.
Yeah.
So bits of our brain, like the frontal lobes, your emotion center, the only part you use all the time is the medulla oblongata. That's your breathing and, heart rate, heart and stuff, and your autonomic functions. But parts of your brain activate at different times depending on what you're doing.
Right.
But there is this theory that if parts of your brain that are lying dormant are unlocked, we just don't know. It's the universe is such a chaotic thing that we have no idea. And we'll try to storytell. This is part of us trying to understand the universe is storytelling.
Yeah, yeah.
And this will inspire someone to take a leap. Not today, obviously. We need to get past today's current people of absolute dullards. We need to get thinkers again. But when the thinkers come back and the rational people and not everything's led by emotion, these sort of movies are what provide inspiration. The early sci-fi movies are what provided medical technology of today, communications technology. Always go back to the tricorder in Star Trek.
Yeah, sure.
We would not have today's technology if it wasn't for that imagination. It was just a little box with a dial on it, but it sparked somebody, an engineer somewhere, and went, I'm going to try and build that.
Yeah, the best sci-fi always leads to actual fact, science fact. Yeah.
And horror has always provided the warning of temper your enthusiasm with a bit of restraint and a bit of thoughtfulness, because here's what happens when it goes wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's storytelling is how we try to regulate ourselves as a species.
Yeah.
It's what makes us unique.
Absolutely. And the way this movie ended, I can't wait for the next one. I know we have to do Leprechaun first, but
well, actually, we're going to be doing something a little bit different.
Okay.
Next time we're going to be doing Kindred. We're going to do first 4 episodes of Kindred the Embraced in preparation for our vampire game.
Very cool. Excellent. Where's my white cat to stroke?
Yeah. No felt. But there you go. That was a lot of fun. And
always fun, buddy.
Thanks for everyone turning up in the chat. Yeah, we're gonna look. I'll look up Troll 2. We'll look it up, and I'll just try and. I'm bound to have seen it. There's no way I haven't. I just can't remember right now. My brain is absolute mush. But yeah, it'll probably end up. Keep an eye out in the schedule. So, needless to say, until next time, keep updated with the channel. Do the type of clicky things, and remember, until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.